Today, I want to talk about one of my new favorite easy run, long run shoes, and that's the Nike Invincible 3. Now, the name is a lot shorter than what it used to be in the earlier versions. I'm gonna just start right there. It used to be the Nike ZoomX Invincible Run FK number. They got rid of all that stuff and simplified, and I'm all for that. I'm really all for simplified names. I know it's hard to name a shoe for trademark reasons and whatever. This shoe, though, it's not really simple. It may look it, but it is a maximal cushion trainer that has some really nice stuff in it. Starting with the foam, look at that slab of ZoomX under there. ZoomX is a PEBA-based foam. It's the common one that we hear is Pebax. That's a trademarked version. This is Nike's version that they're using, and what PEBA-based foam is, it's really light, it's really soft, and it's really springy. That's important. You usually couldn't get light, soft, and fast out of a single piece of foam. You had to pick two. Well, now you actually get the lightweight foam. When you land, it's very soft, it compresses, but it bounces back really quickly. It's resilient, so you get all of those compounds. Now, this is a pretty heavy shoe, so it's not built for speed days. This is really built for cruisers. You just want the comfort underfoot, and that's what this delivers. The midsole is tuned a little differently than, say, how ZoomX is in Nike's racers, where it's tuned to really propel you and rocket you forward. Now, I love that it is just a single slab of foam here too. Some shoes will do double layers of foams, and then every time you have to glue something together or put another compound in there, those layers of glue actually stiffen up the foam, make it harder. And so you're actually reducing the cushioning just by having a layer of glue in there. This is a single slab of foam under your foot, so you really get to harness all of that without any interference. When we look at the shaping of this shoe, there's a lot of function in that shaping. If we look at the bottom, it's easiest to see it. It has sort of a dumbbell shape. There's a really narrow waist, but you have a bulbous heel and forefoot. That gives you a really wide platform that should boost stability, right? We saw that in previous versions of the shoe too. You had kind of the same shaping, but the foam just felt squirrely for a lot of people. This foam is so soft that it moves underneath you, and it can feel a little unstable if you have any kind of mechanics issues or you're going around a corner, and people felt that in the earlier versions, but this one feels tuned a little differently, and it just feels a little bit more controlled, a little bit more stable under your feet, and that partly comes from that geometry. It really is kind of been set up to keep you going forward and not having those side-to-side issues. There's also a little thing in here, there's a heel clip in here that helps keep you centered and helps keep your heel right over the maximal part of that foam. If we look at an earlier version, I've actually cut one apart here, and you can see it was just big green clip that was kind of flat and very visible, went down into the foam, but it's been redesigned in the new version here, and I'm gonna pull this one apart. We can see it. It's kind of hard to see. It doesn't pop, and they don't use a contrasting color, but there's a little plastic horseshoe here. And if we look inside the shoe, you can see just how deep you sit into that horseshoe there. You sit way down in, so your heel is locked in, not only from the curvature of the insole, the sock liner, but then also right up against that inside of that little plastic piece. And actually cut it apart even further, so we can see the rim goes down into the foam. So you're not actually sitting against the hard plastic. You never really feel it, but it goes down in there pretty deeply so that it's actually stabilizing you and keeping you right there on top of that foam. I think that really is a nice improvement in this update that helps really control the ride of the shoe. So being an everyday trainer, there's a lot of rubber under this shoe. It's gonna give you a lot of durability. You want this thing to last, right? And when you add a lot of rubber, it weighs a shoe down. Now looking at this thing, you'd think it's heavy, and actually we found it's not too heavy. It's a 10-ounce shoe, really. But I found it really interesting that in all of my versions of this, my men's 12, the three of them came out to exactly the gram, 347 grams for each version, 1, 2, and 3. So when we measured the men's 9s for this video, I found that the version 1 was 285 grams, version 2 was just 1 gram heavier, 286, version 3 was just 2 grams heavier than that, which is, it's astonishing that the shoe is that consistent. We never even see that consistency between left and right shoes. There's usually more difference even just between those in the grams. So to being able to hold the weight on this shoe, even with the changes that have happened, is pretty remarkable. And 285, 286 grams is just a smidge over 10 ounces. So it's a pretty lightweight shoe. 10 ounces really used to be a performance trainer back a decade ago, before we had some of these new materials. And now a 10-ounce shoe is like your long mile trainer. That's a fantastic number to be hitting. Continuing to talk about what's under your foot, let's talk about thickness and drops. Now, Nike says that they added more foam, or in this version, it's thought to have more foam. So when we measure the thicknesses, the stack heights as we call it, we measure them from the top of the shoe down. So we measure everything that's under your foot. That includes the sock liner, that includes layers of glue and whatever materials are under there. That includes the rubber and foam. We report it all because that's what you're actually gonna feel under your foot. Now Nike had said it added more foam in this shoe, and the first version had a lot of foam under your foot, but we found that the forefoot of all 3 versions was about 26 millimeters thick, roughly. A couple tenths here and there, not a big deal. Heel though, however, was 34 millimeters in version 1, and then version 2 went up to about 37 millimeters. So there was a jump there, and now in version 3, we're getting just under 39 millimeters. It's still under the 40 millimeter World Athletics limit, but it doesn't matter in a shoe like this because nobody's gonna race in a shoe like this. But it went up just a tick. It didn't go up 4 millimeters or anything big in the heel from version 2 to 3. We noticed that difference happening actually from version 1 to version 2. Now, does that matter? Not really, and here's why. It's pretty hard to control down to a millimeter or even tenths in some cases in the production process, right? We know that there's a spec and the manufacturer reports that spec based on their tooling. And that's the metal molds that they actually use to build these things. They know how deep that hole is and what the shape of it is, and that's what they expect to get. Now, there are variations in the production process, and some manufacturers actually even put that note on their website because we're gonna report a different number than maybe they expect and they report. And so that's why we actually measure these things. So we can actually tell you what's happening with the samples we get. Yours might vary a millimeter or 2, and that's okay. A millimeter or 2 is not a big deal. Now, if you're going, say, you want a 0 millimeter shoe and we're gonna tell you it's an 8 millimeter drop, that's a big difference, but we don't typically see such things there. I mean, we're talking a millimeter or 2 difference here, but either way, you're getting 40 under a heel, you're getting 26 in the forefoot. You're looking at about, well, 12, 13 millimeter drop on this shoe. Now that's big today. You know, typically we're gonna see 4 to 8 millimeter drop on a lot of shoes. 8's a kind of a standard now for a easy trainer. And 12's a big drop, but I like this because it sets you up. If you're a heel striker like me, I don't come in real exaggerated or anything, just a little kiss on the heel. Most of us are heel strikers and it's totally normal and okay. But I come in with a little kiss on the heel. I like having that under there. It feels good, it's soft, but more importantly, my Achilles are tight a lot of times. And if you're like that, that extra little bit under there just kind of feels better. You know, I'm not stretching it and hurting it that I might otherwise. So I'm enjoying that taller heel and that offset. It also just kind of feels a little bit more fluid when I'm running. I'm not worried about having to lift that heel off the ground or muscle that foam around. It just sort of naturally transitions and it feels like a little bit of a ramp for me. The biggest change for this shoe really though comes in the upper, and it is visually different. You can see the Flyknit construction has changed visibly, but I want to look in the inside of the shoe because this is where the biggest change has happened in this shoe. If we look at the previous version, you see this inside lining. It was really pretty thick and hot, and that was underneath the Flyknit. So it's in there. If you're wearing these in the summertime, your foot was getting pretty toasty, and it's thickly padded in the tongue, thickly padded around the collar. So there was a lot happening that was heating up in that shoe. Now if we look inside the new version, you see that all that lining is gone. You just have the Flyknit here. There's none of that extra layer. It's not thick and soft. However, it doesn't feel uncomfortable on your foot. You still get a good padded tongue here, and there's still some padding in the heel. So it's still comfortable around your foot, but you don't have that hot sensation. It breathes a lot better, which is nice. It's kind of hard to see in this color scheme, but there are little threads, wires wrapped around in here, cables inside that so that it locks down that fit through the side of the shoe. You don't get any side to side shifting. It's really strengthened there, but you don't see any kind of typical overlays or anything that you would normally. It's really well integrated, and even when we look at the inside here, you don't see anything against a foot that might irritate. They're just really fine cables that run through that give you that extra structure. Looking inside the shoe from the top down, you can see this new change to the heel shape. You still have the padding, but it's one nice seamless piece. Previously, it was a weird construction. You had these pillows that kind of stuck to the outside, and they didn't really feel like they were padding anything for you. And worse, some of us who kick our own heels would just chew this up. It was soft and it would just get shredded. So that's gone. This is far more durable. And when I look at my own sample here, I see some mud or dirt or whatever, but I'm not getting that wearing there. It's cosmetic. It's not that big a deal really, but we runners don't want to see our shoes getting damaged and beat up. It's a psychological thing. We think they're not durable and it messes with our heads, but you're not gonna have that with this shoe. It's just gonna last. It's a little bit better construction, and gone are those pillows of foam around there that really aren't doing anything. I like it. I think it makes it look sleeker. It makes it look more modern and nicer, and it just feels good around the foot still too. I wanna continue that durability story and talk about what's underfoot here. ZoomX is not known to be durable. And we looked at earlier versions and it gets worn down pretty quickly. The racing shoes weren't really meant to last. This shoe though, we're finding it's lasting quite a bit. We have one wear tester in our program who shreds shoes, and I love it because when I want to see how durable a shoe is, I give it to him because he runs the snot out of these things. You know, has ripped the rubber off the bottom of a pair of Skechers, has broken the carbon fiber plate in a pair of New Balance, just absolutely destroys shoes in like record time. It's really outstanding. So I give him this shoe, and he's gone through versions of this, and he keeps buying them on his own. He loves this shoe. He gets 400 or 500 miles out of it, and yeah, they start looking beat up by the end, but he's not breaking these shoes like he breaks everything else. And so I'm really stunned by the durability of these things when, you know, we know this foam isn't the most durable, but it's lasting for 400 or 500 miles and giving him the protection he likes. I haven't gotten that many miles on one of my pairs yet, but you know, from what I feel through my 100, 200 miles that I'm putting on each pair, it feels like I'm getting all the protection that I expect out of it. And even on my long runs, I wore this shoe 22 miles right out of the box. First run, went for a long run, and from mile 1 to 22, it felt great. It felt like I was getting the exact same level of protection from start to finish of that long run. So durability concerns are none on this shoe. And it's a good thing that this shoe is as durable as we're finding it because it costs $180. That's a premium price, and you really want the shoe to last when you're shelling out a bunch of money. And it does last. We're loving it for that. So I want to know from you, are you wearing these Maximalist trainers, thick cushioned premium shoes nowadays, and how are you liking them? Let me know in the comments. I like to play a fun little game with this shoe and count how many swooshes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. I had counted 12 earlier.